Good morning, Champion School of Real Estate. Wonderful customers, students, potential customers. I'm Rita Santa Maria. I'm the owner founder of Champion School of Real Estate. And every month, I am so delighted to be able to interview one of our successful real estate agents. Sometimes they're a long time in the business. Other times, like today, they've been in the business a short time. And in a short time, they have reached the leaderboard. And I am so very, very happy today to have a new agent, new to the real estate business, but not new to entrepreneurship. And it's Steve Swanson. And Steve is with eXp Realty, the Maverick Real Estate Group, and just got his license March of 2025. So, good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's an honor to be here today.
It is absolutely our pleasure. And you have been so highly regarded by our counselors and teachers in the Dallas area. They were telling me you have to interview Steve Swanson. He's done so well in such a short time. And talking with you, I absolutely agree with them. You definitely have a wonderful background, but you also have a great program that has brought you to the top of the leaderboard in just less than a year. So let's just sort of start with that. I know that you are an entrepreneur at heart. That being said, what were like your first businesses you had growing up?
I would say at 12 years old, my little brother and myself, we started a lawn route. And we also, not that we owned the paper route, but we had a paper route along the side of that. So we'd get up 5 o'clock every morning, deliver newspapers, and then we'd have a lawn route after school. So that was kind of our first taste of entrepreneurship. And then having to sell ourselves to the houses to do their yards in the neighborhood was the challenge. And it almost like I thrived on that. So it was, we got to a point where we couldn't service all of them and we had to pick and choose the ones we were going to do. So,
and then you grew up in Southern California, I believe.
San Diego.
And
correct.
you are a third generation realtor family, but you didn't go into real estate in California. You waited until Texas. But I also understand that you are just like a specialist in the operation of a pawn shop, and you are a gemologist. So tell us about being a gemologist and being invited to speak and teach about that and the pawn shop business.
I'm sorry. So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I fell into the pawn shop. My parents fell into the business as well, coming from the real estate world. And so I first started dabbling in it by taking some of their older items that they were going to throw away. And I literally would take it down to the swap meet, set up a stand, and then sell it for like 3 times the amount that I took it from them
Oh
that they
my
had into
gosh,
it. So
that's
that was kind of
amazing.
a cool thing. I would go down and make really good money on the weekends, and I only worked 2 days a week. So I got to surf all during the whole week. So it was perfect for my lifestyle at that time. But then I got to a point where I really wanted to learn the business. So I got into the business. I went to gemology school. I got my degree. I got a certificate in gemology. I became a gemologist. I started working for my parents in the pawn shops. I went in there and I just had a different vision than what was happening. And so I kind of redid the whole atmosphere in the pawn shop. So basically most pawn shops you walk
Like
into,
restaged it or something.
I did. So basically most pawn shops, like I was gonna say, is you walk in and you see TVs, VCRs, tools. And I thought, wow, what a turnoff to go get to a diamond. And so I was like, all right, let's make it jewelry friendly when you walk in, and then had like bank counters to the right where we did our loans and our purchases. And then I did a wall on the left side where we put up a partition where we had all the other stuff, the guitars, the musical instruments, the TVs, the tools.
The
So that stuff was
specialty items.
out of sight. And so we really started specializing and focusing on jewelry. So we became known for the pawn shop jewelry store. So we even, so when that took place, we became number one gold buyers in all of Southern California.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So the pawn industry recognized that and asked me to come talk at the National Pawnbrokers Association that they have once a year in Las Vegas. Again, I felt honored. I was like, whoa, why?
Absolutely. That's a wow moment for sure.
So what I did is I went over there and I ended up teaching the things that I was teaching our staff, counter procedures, telephone techniques, and qualifying your customer. And it was, these things worked.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a minute because what you said is exactly what you need to know in real estate. Telephone techniques, qualifying your customer. And you
Correct.
brought that forward at the convention teaching for the pawn shop people.
I did. I wrote the whole procedures and policy and manuals on that. So it was, it worked. And I think I was talking to you, Rita, before this started, and I was telling you, I believe the reason why it worked best and more than anyone else is we were super transparent and we didn't hold any punches. We wanted to educate the public what we knew so they felt comfortable dealing with us. And so, transparency has always been key in my success. So yeah, it was an honor and did very well in the pawn shop industry. We ended up growing the stores to 6 stores, from 2 stores to 6 stores with my parents. And then there was some false hope that happened between family.
Now, you also are married to an entrepreneur. Your wife has 22 restaurants, the Valerie's Taco Stand, mainly in California. And then you have started as a family with some of those restaurants in the Dallas area, I believe. But what was your defining moment to go into real estate?
I believe the biggest light bulb that went off was when my older son and I had some other family members that were getting involved in the taco business and our restaurants. And I just became less needed, and my voice was getting lesser and lesser, which is okay with me. And my wife had been pushing me for years. She's like, you need to get into real estate. You need to get into real estate. So finally I decided, well, my wife signed me up on online classes. And so it took me a whole year to get through all the classes. And then I was a month short from taking the exam. So then that's when I sought out Champions and came over here, signed up. I did all the classes in 3 weeks. I was really eager to make this happen. And so, yeah, and it was the best decision I ever made.
So glad you found us. You didn't find us at the beginning, but you found us. Mm-hmm. And so very happy for your success and taking all your classes in 3 weeks. That takes a lot of concentration, a lot of focus. We have many people that do that, but at the same time, it shows your determination. And you got your license in March. What were some of the very first activities that you did last spring to get your name out there? Steve Swanson, how did you get new potential clients to know who you were?
My main focus wasn't really to get my name out there in the beginning. My main focus was to align myself with somebody who complemented my abilities and my strengths.
Okay.
And through that, I really latched on to this gentleman, which now is my business partner in the group that we own. I latched onto him due to his strengths in the marketing department and his desire to do all the paperwork and all the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, which that's not my wheelhouse. That's not where I belong. So you have a
true partnership.
Yes. A true partnership, correct. And so I latched onto him, and man, I just started writing with him every single day. I wanted to hear him talk to clients. I wanted to see how he dealt with clients. I wanted to see how he videoed homes, how he took pictures, how he evaluated everything. I asked him question after question after question as we were on the road for, 6, 7 hours out of a day. And that's what really perpetuated my success faster than it would have if I would have been rolling solo and trying to navigate on my own.
Absolutely. So, how many companies did you interview with before you decided on your brokerage?
I think at least minimum 7, maybe a little bit more. I talked
Okay.
to other brokerages, but I actually sat down in interviews with like 7 of
Mhm.
them.
Good for you. We always tell our students, please, please interview with at least 3.
Hmm.
So, interviewing with 7, and then you found your mentor.
Hmm.
I have to say that getting with someone that's experienced and you're riding around with them all day long, listening, watching, that is so important. A lot of people don't realize how very necessary it is to
Hmm.
look at other people, listen to other people that are doing it correctly, are doing the business and making money, and just really saying, okay, can I do that? Let me learn from that. And and then, as you mentioned as well, you're the one that likes to go out and interface with people, and your partner is the one that likes to do the detail, which is so very, both of those, so very, very important.
Hmm.
And it's really fantastic. How many are in your team right now?
We have taken on 3 agents and looking at 2 more at this point right now.
Okay. And they will all be part of the Maverick team.
That's correct.
Okay. So, curiously, you have a great background in entrepreneurship, great background in sales, and now you're taking on new people. So, from your background, which is excellent, what would you be looking for in a brand new agent?
Someone who stands out, someone who's driven, and someone who asks a lot of questions and complements the team ultimately.
Okay. Someone who's going to really pick your brain to see what they can learn from you, which is exactly what you did with your business partner.
Correct.
I love this story. When I asked you how you feel about open houses, um, being available with knocking on doors, so to speak, but just getting your presence known.
Hmm.
I love the story of how you got to a listing and found out that you had to wait a few minutes.
Hmm.
Tell the group what you did during that time period because it's so old school, but it so works so well.
Yes, it was one of my actually defining moments of my momentum, getting momentum. And I had an appointment to do a listing appointment for a house, and the gentleman texted me and said he was going to be about 15 minutes late. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit in my truck and wait for him to get here. Let me just go knock on some doors. So I started knocking on doors. I told them, I got to talk to a couple of the neighbors, and they're like, no, but it was fine. I got interaction with them and just trying to get comfortable with my lingo. Well, I came to this door and they didn't answer, and they had a ring doorbell. So I rang the doorbell, the ring doorbell, and they didn't answer again. But then at the end of a ring doorbell, it says, "Oh, if you want to leave a message, leave a message." So I'm
And
like,
I had
why
no
not?
idea they would do that.
I
That
had
is
no idea
crazy.
either. It was like almost like, okay, you want me to leave a message? All right, I will. So I left them a message, told them who I was, why I was in the neighborhood, and if they're interested, to give me a call. Well, it was so crazy. I got a call the next day to come back and talk with them. Well, within I think it was 30 days, I had closed that house.
Oh my goodness.
30
That
days.
is amazing.
Yep.
And I bet as a new agent, you thought, wow, this is so easy. And
I
now
don't
you're
know if
like,
it was,
wow, I was so lucky.
yeah, I mean, lucky, but you know what? I try to tell people is, you know what? Gap fill it. You know, anytime you're driving in the car and you're going to an appointment, you know, make some phone calls, you know, call some people you already know, do something. Don't just sit and listen to, I don't listen to music
Great
in my
advice.
vehicle anymore. I don't listen to music at all. It's literally, I let my brain work. And, you know, when I used to listen to music when I was in the restaurant industry, and catch myself thinking I'm a musician myself and I'm singing with them. And no, it's totally different when you work in the real estate industry. It's like you need to stay on top of your game. You need to do follow-ups. It's like something I haven't been accustomed to or super good at, but I'm getting better. I have a notebook next to me. I have a calendar next to me, and I'm constantly jotting down notes. I'm putting dates, and yeah, it's super exciting, super exciting.
I interviewed one of our longtime superstars, and she said whenever she gets in her car, she always has her Excel sheet with past satisfied clients.
Okay.
And when she gets in that car, she just picks up the phone and starts calling the next one and the next one and the next one. And we actually had one of our students say later, gosh, did that really work? And it cracked me up because after the interview and it was uh, given to our classroom, and I walked in the hall, and she said, that's such a great idea, but I wonder if that really worked. I said, wait a minute. She's like a multi top producer. Everybody knows her name. Absolutely, it works. But I knew that agent was really saying, I really don't want to do that. That's too scary for me. But I love it that you said you get into your truck, your car, and you start calling.
Mhm.
So that's also a springboard for something else, Steve. And that is you do not use social media for advertising. Talk about that a little bit. That is so unusual.
Yes, and people. I mean, I talk to agents. They're like, "You're kidding me? Why? Why are you crazy?" And I'm like, "No, I see. This is the way I look at social media. It's a distraction for me. I look at it as it's like detouring from my laser focus. I want to be laser focused on the things I know that work, that are working. And some people get caught up in social media, and then next thing you know, they're just all over the map on their social media, and I don't know. It's just to me, I see it from a different angle. I find value in actually connection with people, which I know there is a lot of value with that, you know, especially
Absolutely.
person to person. People remember you. I mean, I don't know. You go on a
It's
YouTube,
the best
Facebook,
way possible. When
it's
we're
connection.
teaching our marketing class, especially powerhouse marketing, Duke University a few years back did a course on marketing, and I went, and some of those thoughts are in my 30 Days to Success book. But the point is just what you said. Don't mix up too much impersonal. It should always be personal, then impersonal, then personal. And anytime you can do that personal, truly face to face, that you do so well, your return on investment of time is way higher. And I really congratulate you for understanding that because, yes, we use social media. Yes, it does work. But at the same time, wow, the personal face to face, that's the home run.
Right.
So, curiously, I'm going to move over in this direction. You have children.
I do.
Uh, how do you feel about, just curiously, they're being on social media? Do you feel like that's a distraction? And
Yeah,
do you have any issues with that?
we don't promote that at all. Actually, it's very limited, if any. Especially with the younger ones, we definitely monitor it.
Yeah. I just had a feeling, because if you're saying, hey, I'm distracted, and I
Mhm,
guess I was really saying, what a great example you're giving,
right.
because you're not doing it and you're really focusing on person to person. So it's just really a super, super example. You are to be congratulated, because this is unbelievable, students. Got his license not even a year ago in 2025, and he was interviewed for a $45 million listing. And I know that you were up against a couple of very experienced agents, brokers,
Mhm.
and you were awarded that $45 million listing. And I congratulate you so much for that. What do you feel set you apart from the experienced agents? And did you tell them you were new, or how did you circumvent, navigate the fact that you were new in the business?
Well, that didn't get divulged till after I landed it, because he never asked. But if he would have asked, I would have divulged
Oh,
it. But it
okay.
never got asked.
Never came up.
Never came up. I think the beginning of the conversation was, we connected, and it was, just like I say, an organic conversation. It flowed very nicely. And then from there, we started talking about the portfolio. And once we got into the portfolio, I asked some pretty cool questions to him that he was like, okay, and he'd give me the answer to it. I asked him why he's selling it, and he gave me a most beautiful story on why he was selling the portfolio. Then he says, okay, let's go view the properties. As we were viewing the properties, I started going over all the value adds that the actual property had and how much love he poured into these projects.
Were
And
these
he was
commercial properties or residential?
no, it was 238 doors. So basically, it was
Wow.
duplex, triplex, and then singles. And it was just one was a 154 unit, one was a 56 unit, and then a 12 unit, 10 unit, and then a couple singulars. So as we were viewing the properties, I was, really honing in on his love that he put into building this portfolio. And by the end of the conversation, I mean, by the end of the drive and the tour, he's like, hey, you want to go to dinner? And I said, well, sure, And so we ended up going to dinner that night. And I talked to him more about the portfolio. It was funny because we started talking because he like hinted he wanted to give me the project. And he's like, well, you'd be willing to do it at 1.5? And I looked at him and I said, Mike, I said, no. He's like, well, what are you thinking? I said, well, 3%. He said, there's no way, Steve. Why would you even? And I say, Mike, you're going to devalue me. I don't want to devalue your project. And so he goes, you know what, Steve? I'll give you 2.5. Are you okay with that? And so I ended up landing that whole project for 2.5%. And when I did that, when we negotiated our number at the end of that conversation, I stood up and I put my hand out. And he goes, man, Steve, I love you. This is what a real transaction should look like. And so he got up and
Wow.
shook my hand, and next thing you know, I sent him over a contract the next day, and he signed it. And here we are 3 or 4 months later. But I think one of the most telling parts of me getting that was he said something very significant to me. He says, Steve, I've interviewed quite a few commercial agents that have been doing this for years and years and years. And that's after I told him, after we made the deal, I told him, I said, Mike, I've only been doing this for a short period of time. I said, but I am a businessman at heart. And he started laughing. He's like, dude, you are a different breed. So, but he said something that, like I said, was super significant to me. He says, Steve, he goes, what I love about the way you're approaching this portfolio is you're being very surgical on how you're going to deal with this. You're not just going to throw it on, be standard and throw it on Crexy and throw it on LoopNet and just do it a very conventional way. And because I had lined him out and told him how I was going to approach the portfolio, what I thought would work best in the beginning, how I was going to update him weekly. And he was just, obviously it won him over.
You gave
And
him a plan.
I did. And basically, I still got the portfolio. He has reassured me he's not giving it to anybody else. We're kind of waiting for the interest rates to go down right now, but it's a great portfolio. It's a great deal. I've been able to coach him into, splitting up the properties now. And yeah, it's been a great learning experience. I knew nothing about these things. I didn't know anything about a T12. I knew nothing about rent rolls. I knew nothing about anything. Putting together an OM. I've learned so much about multifamily in the last few months. It's amazing. It's amazing. So,
But it really goes to show the faith that he has in you because you were so diligent and forthright in coming up with a plan that it meant a lot to you to get the listing. So I really would want to almost use that example in a class when the seller says, "Can you cut your commission?" And it's like when you said, "I'm not going to devalue your property. Why are you devaluing me?" And that was just an honest question to throw out. And obviously he got it. So congratulations.
yeah, thank you very
Congratulations.
much. Thank you.
So with your background, it definitely has helped you with many things. Obviously, you are a long-time experienced salesperson with everything that you've been doing. You chose to go into real estate at about the age of 50. And that, believe it or not, is the median age of our customer. The median age of our customer is 54 years old. And it's usually those people that have had many, well, it's always, they've had other careers and they've always had an interest in real estate, or they're saying, I want to be my own boss. And what can I do that's professional and get into the business? So the people in the classroom right now that are listening and watching you, would you give them some of your ideas on what to do just starting out in the business? What should they be doing right now? What should their mindset be? How should they prepare? What do you
I
think?
I think the first thing that any student should do is answer their why. Why
The
are you
why.
sitting in the, yes, why are you sitting in that seat right now? And once you get the answer to that why, you can formulate a direction. And through direction, there's success. So I think, you start off with the why. And then not only that, I think it's very important to start looking at what you believe your talents are or that you can bring to this industry. What sets you apart? Because everybody is uniquely made and everybody has a unique strength. And whether it be in commercial, whether it be in multi-unit, whether it be in,
Farm
leasing,
and ranch.
I mean, it could be in, yeah, farm and ranch. It could be a multitude of things, or you could be good at several things, but you really don't know until you start doing it. And that's something I've figured out. I mean, I just jumped into commercial 3 weeks ago, and I just finished my first lease, and I'm working on we're on the final tail of the second lease that I put together. And so I didn't realize I was going to even be in this space until I tapped into it by accident, by accident, but purpose. Let me rephrase that. So you never know until, but I think most importantly is to find your why or answer your why, and then figure out a direction you want to go from that why. And I think, those are huge, very important steps to
It
take.
is. What brought me to this point in time and how really determined am I to complete what I need to complete in this career?
Mhm.
What do I bring forward? What is unique about me? All of those statements that you just made most definitely are a huge, important factor in being successful in this new career. And what we love to say at Champion School of Real Estate, you get that license. And just as you said, you can go into residential. You can go into commercial, property management, farm and ranch, retail, industrial, anything, and all of those, whatever suits your interests. We have, again, commercial, but we have so many classes that will teach you the basics of commercial real estate, the basics of farm and ranch, contracts that deal with all of those. And 42 years in the business, we know what we're doing, and definitely encourage everyone like yourself, find your niche, find what you can get excited about, and then do it. And you have a quote here that I saw, and I want to ask you about this quote, so I'm going to read it. I love when people tell me the market isn't good right now. I thrive on that. Why? Because I'm solution driven. It's all about the solution, not the problem. What is your interpretation of that? And it's a great quote, by the way.
I think what comes behind that is, when you're focusing all your attention on some negative that's happening, how do you expect to have positive come out of that? But if you look at that as, hey, what an opportunity, and take that as, okay, how do I make this work in this situation and make it better? So you're having a positive mindset instead of a negative mindset. So you can either perpetuate and go downhill, or you can go uphill. I mean, that's basically the bottom line. And when people say that, I look at the market and I go, wow, what an opportunity. Because you got all these agents out here saying, oh, the market's so bad, market's so bad. Well, they are totally detoured from success, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Success comes from solutions, So yeah, I found out different ways to, switch gears and get into different avenues that are working in this market, and it works. It works. It's a great mindset.
People are still making money. They're making good money.
Of course.
I love it that our new people don't have the 2021 mindset where there were 100 offers on one property.
Right.
Because now they're still looking for those 100 offers.
Right.
But yes, the market is what you make of it. Positivity in sales is a must. Where did you get your sense of positivity?
I always told myself, you're not going to get it unless you go get it. And so you can't wait for something to fall in your lap. You got to get up and go get it. And that's the only way to do it. And what I would recommend is, don't sit at your house and do cold calls. I mean, you can do cold calls on the road. Go door knock areas of maybe some agents that are in your office that have listings in the area. Let them know that, you can knock on those doors. Hey, we got a listing down the street. One of my co-agents in my office. If you're ever interested in listing your home, here's my information. Whatever, just do something and get out and talk to people. And I would tell you something that happened yesterday. And I just bring this up because it was it was so cool. So I get a call early in the morning on my way to church, and this lady wants to see this house. And I'm like, okay, this husband and wife. I'm like, okay. I said, I can show it to you at 12:30. So she said I only could go at 12:30. My church ends at 12, and that was an hour away. So I left church a little bit early. I went and met them at this house. I hit it off with them. They weren't looking for an expensive house, only like 200, 250. So it wasn't like, oh, wow, it's going to be a huge payoff. But this is the best part. So I end up finding them a condo. They end up purchasing the condo. Well, then the day they moved in, the refrigerator broke down, and they called me and they're like, oh my gosh, Steve, we're moving, da-da-da-da-da. So I literally, my son and me, we got on OfferUp. We started looking for refrigerators. I found her this refrigerator from this gentleman in Fort Worth, which is like an hour and something from my house. Drove over there, got the refrigerator from this guy. Now I'm repping this guy to buy a house that I got the refrigerator from. Not only that, because I dropped off that refrigerator to her, I mean, she almost started crying. She had tears in her eyes.
That was
She,
so kind. That was
but
kind.
but yesterday, she calls me and says, "Hey, I have a friend I'm going to put you in touch with. He wants to buy a house, and I told him all about you." And so yesterday, I called him. I already got him a tenant rep agreement. I mean, a buyer's
Buyer.
agreement last
Uh-huh.
night. Last night, and that's the things that happen when you're authentic, you're transparent, and you just want
You
to
do the
do
right
right.
thing.
You want to do, and it's I don't know. I guess I get a feeling inside of me, and it's like I love watching people be happy in this industry. So
That depth of your character, I'm going to compliment you for just a minute, so don't get embarrassed. So many people would have said, "Hey, transaction's over. Sorry about your refrigerator. Figure it out." And you felt an absolute connection. Those were your clients, and you physically dealt with the solution. Time, effort, energy. It messed up your schedule with your personal time with your family. But as everybody knows, the end of the story, look what you got out of it. More business.
right.
But most importantly, had to make you feel really, really good to help those people.
Oh, it
So,
was
what a great story. So, I'm going to leave on just a couple of final questions because I could talk with you all day long. But how do you balance work life and personal life, family life?
that has become a huge challenge. I'm a coach in soccer, and I've coached my kids for the last 5 years, no, 6 years now. I did 2 years in California and then 4 years here in Texas. And I love coaching. I love winning in soccer too. Not only in real estate, I love to win. We've had 3 undefeated seasons so far,
Wow.
but I love coaching soccer. I love being a part of my kids' life and what they do, making sure I make their basketball games, baseball games, and so forth. But what I've come into, real estate's a very demanding career. And when somebody calls you and they need something from you at that given point, I think people are driven off emotion. They're geared off emotion, and that's how decisions are being made. So if you miss that opportunity, and I know that, yes, you don't want to take away from your kids. And so that's been the hardest thing is like, oh gosh, am I going to lose this deal or am I going to lose my kid? And I got to put my family first. So it's been really tough, but I wake up in the middle of the night and I think about this stuff, and it's crazy. So I have a book next to me and I write down all my ideas and things that come to my
Perfect.
head. And it's, I'm
Perfect.
so excited about this. I'm so, so excited.
That is a great example of how everyone in sales, you've got to make that adjustment.
Hmm.
And you just do the best that you can. And that was a great, great example. So, do you have any advice looking back to your younger self? Anything that you would change that got you to where you are today?
I would change things, but I don't regret anything. Um, I would change how who I associated with and the people I put myself around because it took me a long time in life to figure out, when you start putting yourself around people that are winning, that's when you start winning. And so that was a huge shift in my life. I always was okay being around the okay people. And I'm not downing the okay people, but if you want to thrive in anything, you need to put around people that are thriving. And it's just so important, especially in this type of career. Align yourself with people that are doing it. Don't get into a group that's just, doing it and just skimping by, and
It's
being
great
average.
advice.
Yep, so
Great advice. You have such wonderful nuggets that you've put together for us today. And I so thank you for that. I thank you for our time together. And you are an incredible example of a new agent doing well in real estate And for me, Steve, the overriding thought that has come out is that you're a genuinely nice person. And it's been my pleasure to talk with you today. And we know that we're going to have lots of students that are going to say, I want to be with him. He's awesome. And thank you for being at our school. Thank you for sponsoring from time to time.
Yeah.
So we know that you chose eXp Realty. You have the Maverick Real Estate luxury in group. And I'm just so personally proud of you being one of our graduates. I love that so many times you said you write it down and you have your notebook next to you. Obviously, it gives me the opportunity to show everyone our calendar, which is generic, but for every day of the week, you can jot down your prospects, birthdays, their sales tips, journaling, people you need to talk to. Just have it in your car. Starts at 5 a.m. in case anyone's an early riser, ends at midnight. But it's only $20, and you can get it online, as well as we have every designation course that NAR offers, from staging, which you do that naturally with your pawn shop experience, and that came across so well. But how to price listings, how to work with seniors, how to be knowledgeable on building a house. Champion School of Real Estate has all of that. All of those courses, our new catalog is out for 2026. If you're brand new, so many of the things that Steve mentioned are in 30 Days to Success. And it is a workbook, highly, highly recommended, especially for new people. But what we do with our superstar interviews is to say to people sitting in the classroom, look at this gentleman. Look at Steve. He is such a nice guy, so well spoken, and he sat in our seat just a year ago. And today he's doing it. It's very motivational for our new people. The teachers can tell you that all day long, but at Champion School of Real Estate, we love to see our students in front of everyone saying, here's what I did. And you do it very well, Steve Swanson. And I thank you so much and so happy for your success. Wish you more success. And if there's any final thoughts you would like to say to any of our students that are watching, feel free to do it.
I would say ask your teachers a lot of questions. You have some of the best teachers and access to wealth of knowledge. Some of the teachers that I got to encounter, I probably wouldn't even have passed the courses if they didn't take the time and put the effort into me. And like Rita's saying about these books and the calendar, all those things, they work. I mean, and then I really wanted to touch on something. You kind of sparked a little something in me when you started talking about, the house building classes, or the different individual classes that are niches. If that sparks you, I would highly recommend doing that, because whatever you got a passion in is where you're going to thrive in. And so what an opportunity to be able to have that at your being able to have that opportunity to be able to do something like that. And I would say take advantage of it big time.
It's another wonderful nugget. Whatever sparks your interest and passion, you'll be successful.
100%.
So thank you again, Steve, for your time. And again, he's with the eXp Maverick Real Estate Group, and one of our newer superstars. Everyone, don't forget that always we appreciate your business. And at Champion School of Real Estate, we love to say, without your business, we don't have one. So have a great, successful career, and you will be able to also hear and see Steve's interview again through YouTube and your favorite podcast. Thank you for your business. And thanks again, Steve. Bye-bye.
Thank you. It's been an honor.